So if you don't have to bring your chairs, but if you could just come over here. And please explain your profile. Who are you? Yes.
Okay, so let me introduce my person. It's Yuko. Her name is Yuko. She's 52 actually. Her family is, she has 3 kids, but 26, 25, and 23 years old. So we assume that they're pretty much grown up, so they take care of themselves. And she has a husband, and she has husband, and she lives with her parents-in-law. But her father-in-law lives at elderly care facility, so her father is taken care of by them. But she has her mother living alone, and she worries about her because she lives alone and we don't know. She doesn't know what happened to her. So we identify that our main problem is to take care of her mother. She lives alone in maybe her hometown Gunma. So, but she has a job in Tokyo. She works at an office supply company. So, how to balance taking care of her mother and working in Tokyo at the same time is the main problem for her. And we found that she can use line. She's good at computer a little bit. So we came up with several ideas, and one of it is use line as a communicating device with her mother. So maybe she's not very good at computer devices, but well, since the voice recognition is getting bigger, if we can come up with better interface, not just tiny smartphone device, that's probably difficult for her, but if some better interface with using voice recognition and other ways, then we assume that the line would be a very good communicating device. And that's very, that's a very current technology, but we come up with some new things. And one of it is high technology bed and toilet. So we want to make sure that she's healthy. So if the bed we also came up with the toilet. So the toilet can monitor her health condition whenever she goes to bed or goes to the toilet, and her body pressure, or if she has sleep, or her heart rate. And that's really good things. And also, we found that communicating with somebody else is very important. So we think that the robotic technology to communicate or talk to her grandchildren, we found that we discussed that talking to grandchildren is very important for elderly people. So communicating with robot technology is very important. And that's for her mother, but the working condition has to be shifted. So if she can, currently she works in Tokyo, but if she can work with on the internet and at home, then she can move to her mother, and she can make sure that her mother is safe and she can work at the same time. So that's what we discussed. And also, for her mother, if she can go, she has normal life, then that's good for her. She can do, whatever she wants. So if automatic driving system has realized, then she can, talk to her, and her mother can call to her friend, and she can go to anywhere she wants. And also, the other thing is, I heard that it's happening to the child care, but when he had, their parents has a job, and when they cannot pick up their children at kindergarten or something, they send an email to some internet community to ask somebody to pick them up. So if that kind of system happened to the elderly people, then if she Yuko wants somebody to take care of her and make sure she's safe, then instead of her going, she can ask somebody else to make sure she's okay. So that's that's our ideas.
Great, thank you.
So, okay, for this group persona, for the person, Yukiko is 37 years old, married with husband and 2 kids. Her own parents lives far away in a remote location. I think they're pretty well done. Then father-in-law and mother-in-law lives together with Yukiko, and then basically he has a memory issue at 77 years old. So we assumed, and actually she works 4 days a week at the cashier of the supermarket nearby. So basically the problem that she's facing right now is probably the time that she can spend help, his memory issue. And of course, she has to do the regular household things, do the washing and laundry, stuff like that. And then I think before I touch on the individual solution, the underlying theme that we discussed within the group is there needs to be an engagement with the people and a sense of community, that coupled with the technologies that's going to solve this problem. So then we talked about one possible solution being the remote connection between her parents in a remote location and also kids as well as the parents-in-law, and then basically have them really communicate frequently, and maybe kids are doing certain things and then they watch over, or maybe let them report back to the kids that how they are doing. And then by doing so, basically it will create a sense of community and more engagement. So that should actually help father-in-law be more active and involved. So basically it should be indirectly helping the memory problem to be resolved. Another thing that we talked about is because she works at the supermarket and then gets some useful information in terms of sales upcoming and some vegetables that's in good quality, and then have her send that information to the parents-in-law and then let them communicate to other people in the community. So again, it creates more involvement, forcing them to go out and then talk to people, and then naturally, it gets him more active and involved in the community. The last thing that we talked about is, I think, the combination of physical and virtual in terms of gaming. So let kids learn how to grow vegetable on iPad, and then let the parents-in-law do the real vegetable growing at the same time. So they couple each other, exchange information. They're basically doing the game together, and creating a sense of community. So none of them is a direct technological solution, but through the technologies, basically, we create more engagement in people, which is really essential to the human interaction.
Great, thank you very much.
Did I forget something?
This one.
Oh yeah, sorry, one more. Okay. We also talk about the wearable devices that actually simulates elder people's motion, and then actually limitation in terms of visions and hearing. So basically have Yukiko and husband or maybe kids to experience what their parents feel like, and then they have more empathy.
Yeah, I think at ICS we tried that. Remember?
Did we?
Yeah,
Sorry, I
probably you don't remember. I think global citizenship, and I think they had like a wheelchair.
Yeah, I did,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's one of the things that they were trying to do.
No,
Yeah.
I actually experienced
Figure out.
how you.
Okay, great.
Our persona name is Master woman, Japanese, lives apart from parents, short distance. She's 26 years old, and she has a husband, a cat, and she lives in Kanagawa. And she's a project manager at IT company, and so she's too busy and returns home late every day. And next, her mother, as 55 years old, lives in neighboring city within 30 minutes. And she has a problem of blood disease. She takes medicine once a day. And we thought what the issue are. Issue is Martha is too busy, and then less communication and no information about her. So we picked up solutions. There are hardware solutions and software solutions. And firstly, software. We thought software four solutions. Firstly, Line, as you know, is easy to communicate. And second, virtual pet on iPad or other smart devices. And third, Kokoromi is a kind of counselor, phone call to her and report to her family. And fourth, well known, it's family SNS. Only family can share their data easily. And next, hardware solutions. Firstly, wearable watch to check her health, and next, emotional robot. And like her, and last one, she need to take a medicine. So if her trouble with taking a medicine, as someone support taking a medicine with calling to her. And emotional robot can catch her mother's emotion and report to mother, and then she has a knowledge of ID, so she can customize emotional robot optimized to her mother. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Instead of focusing on the person that is taking care of the parents, we kind of focus on the who are we taking care of. So, give you a little bit of persona here. He's a 57-year-old man working, and his wife is living in Chiba. The person he's taking care of is his father, who is 82 years old and like a typical Japanese stubborn guy. So we thought about a day in the life from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and created a kind of like a framework. You like framework, right? So not anymore, maybe, yeah. Well, 3 pillars, right? Stay me, like I want to stay me, myself. Don't call me like a person or a patient. I'm myself, right? The second pillar, stay engaged. He wants to communicate constantly with his parents, family members, friends, or neighbors. And the third pillar is stay control. So he wants to control himself, whether he can or he cannot. We wanted to focus on what he can do instead of what he cannot do. And we wanted to focus on what we can do instead of how, right? We can talk about how later. And engineers in this room can figure out how. I'm not an engineer, by the way. So we came up with a lot of ideas here, and I want to introduce 3 things. One, on the Stay Me feature pillar is the pain detection and massage. So there's a sensor somewhere in your bed or in your blanket or inside you that detects that the person is having a pain. So that automatically, that data will aggregate in some data center, and people taken care of his father will know that he's having a pain. That's one of the sensors. The second sensor is everywhere conversation. So wherever he is, even if it's in the bathroom, living room, in a car, whenever he wants to talk to someone, and then when chat room comes up, hey, he can always start a conversation with anyone he wants. It could be your real friends, or it could be someone in the virtual reality. Make sense? And the third one is automatic medicine dispenser. So he probably has to take 3 times a day, medicine 3 times a day, right? But because of his age and his mental and physical condition, maybe he forgets sometimes. So instead of not forgetting taking medicines, this medicine that he has to take will come automatically in front of him, and then he just have to take that medicine away. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, so let's introduce the person. His name is Aruna from Sri Lanka. He's 40 years old, working at the Sri Lanka Embassy in Japan, and has 2 kids, and who's in the Hankoki stage, and he left his parents in his homeland, Sri Lanka. So living apart with his parents is his fundamental problem. So to overcome this problem, we had many wonderful and charming and almost crazy ideas. So for example, which introduced first. So how about the one wearable device, his parents' blood pressure and heart rate, and also the everything, every health condition, they connect to the home doctor. And one important thing is that device must be looking cool.
With a diamond.
Yes, diamond gold, because it makes the parents to love to wear and don't forget to wear that device.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And also we had another idea with the very advanced communication system, which has the 3D, how to say that?
Hologram?
Hologram, yes. Hologram, and with the, even we can touch the hologram. And also it convey the smell of people, because
You should take a bath.
yes, sometimes. Also, yes, and also any other ideas? Oh, anyway, okay, so we had even with all these crazy idea that we have still many things can be solved by technology, with advanced communication, with other IT, but we have still 2 problems left. One thing is the emotion. Even with the very advanced the teleconference system, we still would like to meet each other and hug each other. So with the aid of the technology, we can solve this. We can improve this emotion problem, but still needs some gap, and still we have some gap. And another thing we left is the time zone difference problem. The Sri Lanka and Tokyo has 3.5 hours time zone. So also with the advanced teleconference system, we had sort of the flex work system, 1 or 2 hour leave to leave from jump to communicate with the parents. But with those those kind of the IT and the system problem, but still the only way to solve this problem is to keep earlier or keep later. So IT can solve many problems, but we still have the third gap in emotion and time reference thing. See?
The wearable device sense their emotion. For example, they feel pity or sad, or they talk no one today. And after sensing that, automatically the video contents of grandkids played. Hello, how are you doing today, or something? As Ishikura Sensei said, they enjoy the same conversation every day, so they can enjoy same contents every day. So even though the time zone is 3.5 hours, they can enjoy not real time but automatically played grandkids videos, for example. That could work for John. That's all.
Thank you.
Our guy's name was Uzi, and Uzi, we're assuming, lives in Tokyo, and his parents are living in Kyoto. Uzi's got a child and a wife in the city with him, and he works a lot. Recently, his father suffered a brain hemorrhage, so he's suffering from some lack of vision, and his mother is taking care of the father in Kyoto, but by the sounds of it, his mother's going in for heart surgery, and she's going to have a 2-week recovery period or something along those lines. So our solutions didn't really focus much on Uzi. Most of them had to do with the parents because there's this distance that's going to be very difficult to cover unless we get the Doko Demo door. If there's anyone in here working on that, please let me know. I'm very keen. So the problems that we identified were kind of mental side and the physical side. On the physical side, probably both parents are just getting weaker in general, so there's a lot of things that can no longer do. Also, specifically for the father with the problems with his vision, safety, leaving the house, transport, all of those are going to be a problem. And then inside the house, identifying everyday things might be challenging, as well as keeping things clean, cooking, all of that. And on the sort of mental side, just the frustration that he will probably feel of not being able to do some of the things he used to be able to do, dancing or reading, etc. We also assume there might be some isolation. Certain people don't, in the family or friends, might not want to hang out or visit anymore because there's some uncomfort there, or discomfort. And that kind of ties in with that one away as well. So the solutions that we talked about, a lot of them have been touched on here. I think obviously autonomous driving cars, things like that to get around would be great, but maybe on more of a personal level, the sensor system worked into clothing or wearables so the father's not running into things. Some sort of item sound retrieval system, so especially for key items, if he says what it is, house keys, and the keys will go boop, 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 so he can find them more easily. Implants, chips, other sorts of wearables that recognize his vitals and can send signals when appropriate. For food, some sort of order system that's really easy to handle for someone who can't see, so it could be ordering vocally through an app. As well, paying might be difficult, so something along the lines of Suica or an account system where the price of the food is just credited to the father. What am I missing? Yeah, all these in-house cameras, wearables, Google Glasses so that he can recognize things, an advanced version of the Roomba that might clean walls or something like that. A phone that speaks, so rather than trying to figure out the apps because they're really small, maybe instead of having just 7 windows with 20 apps per window, large apps, and he just kind of touches near it, and it tells him what he's trying to touch, Gmail, internet, etc. And then also a whole bunch of robot solutions, so robot legs to help him walk around and control where he's going. And then the talking robots, so the family in Tokyo can speak and the robot will interact with the father, taking on that persona of the kid or Lucy. And then the Skype and Line and picture sharing systems through all of the other technologies out there. Did I miss anything?
Yeah. I think to address the emotional or the mental side, for example, for her, Lucy's mother is really in a hospital, and she's worrying about his father is really doing the right job in the house, because the house used to be a kingdom of the wife. So to make sure that the husband is doing the right things, to really using some of the glasses, And also to address the other, because Lucy's baby is still very young, so probably some small devices to really connect easily to really this father and also mother and then his parents and Lucy's family in Tokyo to be connected and then show his grandchildren very frequently to speak to them or send some pictures. That will also really help their stress.
That's it.
Thank you very much for your ideas. Quite a few, some common kind of devices. And let me ask you this. How many of you are actually having this issue? Okay. Do some of these things make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Although I raised hand that talking about my case, my grandmother is in another nursing care facility, but she is relatively healthy, so I'm not qualified to talk about that.
I see. Okay. Yeah, but that's. What about you?
My issue is the daycare center. Daycare centers in Japan, I feel generally it's not really meeting the needs of the people. I mean, really, having these problems because I heard a lot of the elderly people think it's always chi papa, acting like a kid. And it really hurts their pride. And I think there should be more, meeting their, maybe some people are really into physical movement, or maybe some people are more into communication. I think it's, in general, the daycares are really talking about, summing up everybody, older people wants to do this, and that's not the case. I've heard a lot of, especially guys, old guys hate that. And I think there's a lot of business chance there.
Any other?
Yeah, in my case is, and my mom is 82 years old, living in living in Fukuoka by herself. And the problem is, the less communication. And she getting weak and weak, not physically, but some mentally. So it's less chance to communicate, especially the same generation, and also some kids, even if myself, less chance to communicate frequently. So it's quite a case to stimulate the elder people to using such kind of IT technologies. But one problem is IT literacy. It's quite low. So it takes a time to catching up some literacy after the 75 years old.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? From my own experiences, if you hit 80s, whatever, most of your friends are gone. So, or are too sick or to move around. So they cannot visit you, you cannot visit them. So that's where the IT and other things can come in without moving. That's one. But then, in my case, my dad was able to handle iPad last year, but not anymore. So it's just going down very, very quickly. He doesn't even know how to take a photo with a digital camera. So it's just going down very, very quickly. And so it's one thing to use these things, but at the same time, even though he was able to do it last summer, and I sent a lot of videos and things, but he cannot handle it anymore. He doesn't remember what to do. And so that's part of the problem. And I heard several things from my friends, and even though you tell them to take a medicine or reminder, they don't. they don't remember to take a medicine. And even though you put it in these sacks or whatever in the bag for each day, they don't remember. And I heard once the elderly start, let me back up. They don't quite understand how to pay and how to get the change. So they tend to pay a lot of things with 10,000 yen note. Because they can't figure out which one is which. So that's another. And I heard that once the elderly start putting their shoes in the fridge, that's a pretty good sign that they don't quite, they're losing. So those things, which is kind of beyond our imagination, does happen. And so it's a very, and they tend to fall. They have difficulty walking, even with a carrier or the cane. Their balance becomes very much off. And I think that's based upon the physical problem. And I know that there is a solution, but it's still in the experimental stage. So they tend to get dizzy, and they fall. And when they fall, they get hurt pretty badly, too. So those are the kinds of things that, it's sort of beyond your imagination. You find out day after day as the time goes by. And so I think that using the line, using all sorts of things is great, but at one point they may lose it. So what do we do next? And so that's a little bit of an issue. And it's easy to say to keep the communication, and yet what do you do when they start calling you at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning? Because that's when they get lonely. So you have to be, and you shut off your phone, but that's a very good way of shutting down the communication. So a lot of things that really affects your life as well. And so that's the kind of thing that I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what I have experienced and what I've heard from others. And so I think it's great to have all these ideas, and particularly I like that real and virtual vegetable growing, because that's a nice way of connecting. And and a lot of wearables and things like that is great, and it's the matter of, as you mentioned, each case is so different. So you can't really generalize. You can't be really prepared for all sorts of things. You just have to resolve it as you go, pay as you go kind of thing. Because you don't know what happens next time. And I think that makes this aging issue very, very difficult. You can't. The kids are. I don't know because I've never brought up the kids. But the kids are very individual and different, and yet they grow. And the elderly lose. So, and they tend to focus on what they cannot do, as some of you mentioned. So you really have to turn their thinking. You can still do these things. But they lose, they don't gain. And that's a very big difference between the kids and the elderly. It seems like their world is getting smaller and smaller with much less things to do that they are able to do. So you have to get them out of that mentality of, oh, I'm losing this and that. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But I thought it was very interesting that you came up with a lot of ideas. So let me ask probably Modi-san to give us some comments.
Sure, okay. Thank you very much. And all of ideas are very interesting. And what I felt very interesting and I feel kind of warm is usually people tend to connect IT with kind of convenience. But I think many ideas are not only just for convenience, but also the connection with people and the sympathy and kind of friendship. So that kind of thing is always more important, most important thing. And those feelings, when those feelings connect to the IT, something very revolution or a real thing will happen. So I feel very happy that many ideas are coming from those emotions. That's what I feel.
Great. Thank you very much. I think we may be able to do another round in the future, and much more from the sense of the business. This is a potential. This is such a high potential market, and as SoftBank has entered the robotics, so there are lots and lots of things that we could do in this area. So if you are supposed to come up with a business plan to capitalize on this, big trend, what would you do? And that way, we may be able to come up with something more specific. But I thought as a first round, this was a very good, interesting ideas. So I would like to close the session, but a couple of things before we close to get into the networking. First of all, we sort of decided, try to get some repeat customers. We decided if you come 5 times, and I'll give you some stamp. You're invited to Yoko's bar in February. So I don't know whether some of you have been here with the card, but if you're interested, I'd be happy to give you the card and the stamp so if you collect 5 stamps, you're qualified. That's the first one. The second one is that the next session is July the 25th. That's Friday. And we have decided on the topic already, and that is, I think a lot of us are interested in the identity of being Japanese. So the question is, if you were to be reborn, would you like to be born in Japan as Japanese? And we will do debate, yes or no. So if you can choose whether you want to be born in Japan or not, would you like to be born as Japanese in Japan or not? So that's the question that we're going to try to figure out. Try to figure out the identity of Japanese. So that's the topic for next time, and I hope that many of you will join us again. To think about the identity of Japanese, and even the non-Japanese are welcome as well, just for your information. And I've tried this like this week with a group of university students, some of whom are non-Japanese. And so it was a very interesting discussion, so we would like to do that, and we'll let you know the details. But the date is July the 25th, that's Friday, and the issue is the identity of Japanese. Okay? Okay, anything else? Any other announcement? Okay, and now I believe that we do have some drinks and some food, so I hope. So it's time to have fun.